Moses went to the mountain, and God spoke unto him.
Moses, this is the Lord thy God, commanding you to obey my law. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. A deaf man could hear you.
What?
Nothing, Garnish, forget it. Oh, Lord, why have you chosen me? What would you have me do for you?
I shall give you my laws, and you shall take them unto the people.
Yes, Lord! Lord, I shall give these laws unto thy people. Hear me! Oh, hear me! All pay heed! The Lord Jehovah, has given unto you these 15... Wait. 10 commandments for all to obey.
Hello everyone, how you doing out there? Hello Daniel, how's it going? Yeah, I was gonna do this yesterday. Well, there was a couple reasons I didn't do it. It was a long day I had yesterday, but I was waiting for or hoping that I would have a guest on. He wasn't able to make it. He had something come up, so I decided to just go ahead and reschedule it for today. And it's a fitting topic for a Sunday. We can do a bit of a watch party. An old silent film. Cecil B. DeMille, he's a co-founder of Paramount Pictures. So, yeah, it's quite a significant film. But yeah, it's only about 20 minutes long. So it'll run about 20, 30 minutes of a watch party. And then some themes that I wanted to discuss. One related to the sermon for today, basically on Legion, which is quite significant these days. Yeah, and just some things surrounding the current trends of discussion, dichotomies, and so on, continuing that discussion. Basically, the theme of today, and as the title suggests, do we keep God's commandments as he tells us? He says, if you love me, keep my commandments. What does that mean? Or are we saved by grace alone? What does that actually mean? And is it kosher to be Zionist? Those kinds of things. Like I said, I did invite a couple people. One was apparently not. It's not. He's not going to make it today either, so that's unfortunate. But it would have been nice to have him on panel because he's got quite a lot to say on the topic. He's got a similar background in mine, so to speak, give or take. So, but maybe blessed. Maybe he'll show up later, but I don't know. So, anyways, without much further ado, yeah. So, Cecil B. DeMille. If you look into him, he's actually, well, let's look at the name first. What would you say his ethnicity is? Anyone in chat want to take a shot at that one? Again, he's a co-founder of Paramount Pictures. That should be a clue for you. I will say this. The other co-founder is indeed Jewish through and through. So, but DeMille, is that really a Jewish name? Well, if you look into it, you'll see that, one, he was actually a freemason, which probably also shouldn't be a surprise. But yeah, actually his mother was Jewish, and therefore, folks, what does that make him? Yep. So, yeah, there you go. And so he's done quite a few religious films. He's done a lot of films. He was very active early on. They did the style early on because the film production was pretty new. So there were a lot of mess ups. With the silent films, the lighting thing was an issue. So they had issues with shadows, and there were complaints about the shadows messing things up. So what did they do? His Jewish partner came up with an idea of repackaging their, well, incompetency and calling it Picasso lighting. And therefore, we're making it postmodern. Now people were interested. Ooh, special lighting. I got to check this out. Clever. What are you going to do? But yeah, so they also did the first feature, which I would like to do, get my hands on a copy of that and do a watch party for that. That's kind of hard to find, but I'll see if I can do that. That would be great. And instead of continuing my Eddie Murphy series, which I've been not going near 3 months, saying I could go get back to that, but I'm just so burnt out on the whole racist thing. I'm just really so sick of it. I just can't muster the strength to get back to it. And I was saying that I wanted to do a Whoopi Goldberg series after that, but I don't know. You know what? I think I'd rather just change gears, especially with what's going on. The Jews and the Muslims have us on the brink of World War III. Not much surprise there. So, and all these circles are coercing us, shaming us, and pretty much forcing us to choose either Islam or Judaism, which is insane. So these kinds of things, and a lot of them getting just obnoxious, uptight when you state any kind of fact about Jews. I understand they're combating Muslims, but two wrongs don't make a right, man. You're either getting people closer to God, to Jesus Christ, or you're not. And those people, by not talking about that, but rather push people towards Judaism, they're not. They're going, that's backward. But we'll look more into that. Again, their thing is to just kind of cackle and say, oh, buzzwords like evil and what's the common mass media malarkey, anti-Semite, and so on. So, and that's it. That's all they've got. They've got no actual argument. In the face of the proof, that's all they can do is laugh and cackle like a Muslim, deny it like a Muslim, and do it ad hominem like a Muslim, and then change the subject like a Muslim. So if they're doing the same things in spirit, what's to differentiate them from the anti-Christian Muslims or the anti-Christian militant atheists or the anti-Christian not right, or mass media moonies, or libtards, what have you, and so on, or the anti-Christian communists, the Buddhists, and so on. I mean, in the spirit, if they're doing the same works, are they not the same? So, sound is clicking on the high dBs, FYI. Honestly, don't know what high dBs are, so it must be my connection. I might have to get new equipment, which I can't really afford to do, but it is what it is. Thanks for the heads up, Dana. Yeah, so actually, no, let's just go ahead and get to the movie. I don't want to get on too much of a rant. We'll have a discussion, and again, open panel. Let me go ahead and put the link in the chat, especially since my guests are not here. So feel free to come up at any point. Yeah, but basically the production notes here. He did a reboot of this movie later on. This version, the silent film version, was actually the highest earner for, what was it, 20 something, 25 weeks, I think it was. You can look that up too. So the very first feature, well, not the very first, but this is actually, I think, the second one. It was released first, but another one was actually made before that and released later. Again, the one I want to get my hands on, so we can take a look at that. But yeah, so this was a popular film. It makes sense because as Christians, we have the tendency to look at Judaism as Christianity. And so, of course, they had the Jews, supporting this. Of course, they had the Christians supporting this. And I'm sure others too. So, yeah, it was a very popular film. He did a lot of other popular films too. He did a lot of other religious films too. He rebooted this one in the mid-20th century, 1950s. It was the last film he would ever produce. But that too was very popular, award-winning, and all that good stuff. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look-see at this flick. All righty. Well, that was I gotta say that was the first time I watched it myself. I like to kind of watch things for the first time with you guys, just so you get a live, natural reaction to it. I don't know. What did you guys think? If someone wants to come up, let me go ahead and share that link again, actually, in chat. Yeah, feel free to come on up. What can I say? I mean, I don't know. It was short and sweet. It's called the Ten Commandments. What did I miss there? Wasn't that supposed to be about the Ten Commandments? Did I get the wrong film? Anyway, yeah. I guess you got to use your imagination for the rest, or I guess maybe the production costs caught up with them, and so they had to cut it short, but keep the title because of advertising. I don't know. Maybe you got to wonder what was the advertising cost there too. By the way, or did they get some assistance with that? Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what to say really about the film. I found it realistic. I thought the special effects were cool. I mean, for people that have some idea how that stuff works, I mean, how they did it was fairly obvious. Still quite impressive though. Yeah, and just I love. I mean, I guess the story writing. You could say the story was already written for them. Can't give them too much credit for that, but. As far as their attention to detail when it comes to the acting, the close-ups on the facial expressions and the emphasis on that, it really gets you on the edge of your seat. It was really cool. Yeah, I mean, there was some interesting, not too much, not especially not compared to what we have late 20th century and especially the 21st century, the creative liberties taken by movie producers and directors and so on. I mean, it just doesn't compare. But what I found intriguing was that the little triangular symbols on the top, I mean, it wasn't even consistent. So they kept adding different ones, which is kind of interesting too. It begs the question, why? Why those and why keep changing it up? Yeah, as far as the content goes, I really don't have much to say about that. It's fairly straightforward. I found some of the Bible verses maybe a little disjunctive, but I have to take a look at it again with more detail, pay closer attention to what's being used and when. But at first glance, it doesn't seem like a crime against humanity. I didn't like the fact that they did use a cross, but embedded that in a Masonic symbol. Yeah, that was, I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, I'd have to look at this again. Maybe do a follow-up or something. I don't know. Now I kind of regret not watching this beforehand because there's definitely some, and I should have been expecting it, but I wasn't expecting to have this many questions about it, especially not a 20-minute film. Well, yeah, what do you guys think? What would you rate that? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate that film? I don't want to say what I would rate it. I want to see what you guys have to say first. But you probably already have an idea how I feel about it since I said so much about it. As far as what else can I say on production notes on this movie? Filming, they were originally planning to shoot it in the Arizona desert. They had issues with that. I believe they filmed it, or part of it, in studio in Hollywood, in a warehouse. I mean, basically, again, they built Hollywood. Hollywood was bought by Jews literally, and then, Jews made the production companies that were built on it and so on. So it's, in fact, just recently, the ADL called out a museum for leaving out the fact that Jews founded Hollywood. So, and they called them anti-Semitic for doing that. Again, it really irks the hell out of me, these Zionists in our circles that, get their panties in a bunch when you say anything real true about Jews and how much control they have over all these things. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming, and they've got no kind of argument themselves when they do it other than, again, acting like a Muslim, which is quite disturbing. But anyway, yeah, I mean, what would you guys... Yeah, I mean, again, give the gospel now. We're seeing eye to eye here. I would pretty much give that a 7 to, give or take. Yeah, let me just switch gears here. I just want to address a couple things on a personal, and I meant to open with this, but I forgot. There's just so much to talk about, and I'm exhausted, to be honest with you. It's already been a long day. Dreary weather, so that kind of is taxing in itself. It's a sleepy day, so forgive me for being a bit lethargic or absent-minded. But I wanted to discuss in the opening. Yeah, it's just what's going on in the world or in your neighborhood. I've had some people reach out to me, like the guy was supposed to be a guest yesterday, today. Hey, Darcy, how you doing? But yeah, basically there's a lot of people struggling. I'm myself too. I'm pretty public about my struggles. I've been hoping, it seems like every winter these past few years, and in retrospect, I've got to give myself a doy. Of course, I'm going to be having financial problems since the lockdown, especially during the winter, which is historically a bad time of year economically for just about anyone, outside of those that are pushing Xmas. Outside of them, people are struggling during the winter. So, but it's just we're reaching a point, right? We're being pushed to the edge, and it's a shame, again, with giving Cecil B. DeMille an example. He's done a lot of different quote-unquote religious movies, none of which is on Job. I mean, I'm the media buff. I sort of have the answer to this, but you guys, can you tell me a movie that's been done on Job? I mean, we're talking about one of the most exemplary figures in Old Testament. Someone that you want to imitate, be like, strive to follow his example, of course, outside of Christ. But we're talking Old Testament here. What are the movies on his? I mean, isn't his story quite compelling? Surely, especially the older films that like to focus on emotion and storytelling. Surely they could have done one on that. But instead they focus on things like revenge. I mean, they obsess about revenge. And, us New Covenant folks, and we should all be New Covenant, including the Jews. Us New Covenant folks, I mean, what does God say about revenge in chat? What does the Lord say about revenge? Yeah. Does this... So does God say, how about a yes or... Thank you. Yeah, so does God say, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord? Is that correct, or is that incorrect? How many of you say correct? How many of you say incorrect? And I've got a short on this, by the way. It's a little trivia for you. And it just goes to show how mass media even fools the faithful. I'm all my life walked around saying exactly that. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Why? Because I heard it on television. Actually, he says, vengeance is mine, I shall repay, saith the Lord. I shall repay. That's a small part. You can say, okay, well, I mean, is it really, yeah, actually, theologically, it is quite significant. Especially if you put it in the context of what's going on these days. Vengeance is mine. You can now interpret that and say, well, vengeance is mine, and I'm Jewish, and therefore I'm going to defeat all my enemies. Isn't that what we're saying these days in all these circles? But as Christians, take a different approach, or we should be, unless we get into that groupthink mentality, right? That mob mentality, especially being forced into it, and then all of a sudden we're like celebrating. Like I myself put up a short, hypocritically a bit, but it's yeah. And I'm glad that someone shared a Bible quote about an Old Testament Bible quote about how the enemies will be destroyed. You know, it's hard to not celebrate when someone as evil as Yahya Sinwar there his tyranny is ended. It's hard to not celebrate that. I kept my same style. I do mockery stuff just so I could get the attention of the people that I'm targeting, which is the not right, the left, or whatever you want to call them. So sometimes I put up projects there that I'm not completely proud of. That's one of them. But I felt, I should keep the same style, and that's why I did it. But yeah, I don't know, folks. I'm rambling a bit. Let me get back to my original point as far as all this chaos and the evil ones trying to bring us to the edge, to despair, to suicide. Mass media that's one of the things that it pushes. It pushes a lot of things. It pushes murder, it pushes drug use, alcoholism, abortion, of course, all kinds of sexual degeneracy. I mean, the list goes on there, including pedoism. But it also, it pushes suicide is one of the things that it does over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's the one thing that I'm glad YouTube does. I mean, according to some others, you gotta curb your use of that word. I'm glad I think they actually got one right there. So, because when you hear something over and over and over again, it's brainwashing. It's a classical brainwashing. So I'm glad they curbed that, at least allegedly. But yeah, you told about that, Darcy. Yeah. I think it was during one of I think it was Paul Sutliff's stream. I can't remember anyway. So basically what we're bringing us to the brink of is of self-destruction, destroying each other, of course, like the Willie Lynch letter and so on. I mean, of course, the Bible was way older than the Willie Lynch letter, but the Willie Lynch letter is more popular, so I referenced that instead. Forgive me for not using scripture there, but just look at what God says, what all the law hangs on, right? The 2 commandments. You gotta love God with all your being, of course. It should go without saying. But you gotta love each other as you love yourself, as you respect yourself. And their push to drive us one crazy and to be malicious, but also to be self-loathing, to be disparaging. That too is by design. For decades, for generations, they put this suicide thing in our head over and over and over again. And it's becoming rampant. It's been rampant since the lockdown. They've destroyed so many livelihoods, and we're still not keeping them accountable, even though that continues. We need, and this is again my call for people. I've tried, and I'm still more than willing, but I'm right now living under my means. So, but in a drop of a hat, and I keep pushing and begging for people to do class action suits for the communist pagan censorship, but also for the implications of the lockdown that are again ongoing. And never mind these distractions. Are you with Trump or with Kamala? Are you with Judaism or Islam? Are you with Russia or Ukraine? Are you male or female or number of genders? Or you know, this, that, and the other? All these dichotomies, all these red herrings, taking us off the task at hand. But meanwhile, they continue to destroy economy. They continue to depress the hell out of us. And just like Job, they afflict us with all kinds of things, just like Job. So that's why I'm bringing that up. We need to keep, well, Christ. I mean, Christ does say, if they're going to do this to me, what are you going to expect, right? But even on a more human level, Job and those like him, I mean, the lives of the saints, if you dare, look to them. I mean, ego is a killer too, people. And I don't mean to sound the way I sound, but I think I need to say it in this way so we can kind of snap out of it. You know, I live in a very small community. There's a lot of farmers here. But yet even they that are still, you know, 1 foot in traditional lifestyle fret over not being able to afford the common postmodern luxuries. And for them, that's a big reason why they feel depressed and downtrodden. And I think that's insane myself, to place that much emphasis on worldly treasures, that it's going to make you feel despondent, that it's going to make you want to lash out or hurt yourself or end your life. That's insane. That is pride. If you have your health, if you have the love of others, and if God loves you, right? Let's not forget that part. What's there a fret? Feel good. Celebrate each other. Celebrate God's creations. I'm going to go ahead and change gears here on that note. Going from my anti-Semitism, which people love, to something that I found a little uplifting. I'm going to have to stop and start this, so forgive my interruptions. And again, if you want to come up, let me go ahead and share that link, so you can feel free to do so. All right, let's take a look at this one. I think you guys will like this, especially on a Sunday.
Αγαπητοί πελάτες, η μεγαλύτερη προσφορά της χρονιάς από...
Let's try that again. I guess not. There we go.
Closely, he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities.
Punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed.
By his wounds we are healed. So where is this from? The Old Testament or the New Testament?
I'm going to say the other one because it doesn't sound like the Tanakh.
ברית החדשה, New Testament.
ברית חדשה.
זה ברית חדשה.
New Testament.
This is the Old Testament.
No way.
Old Testament.
תנ"ך.
Tanakh. Why do you think that's from the New Testament?
It sounded like they were talking about Jesus.
פה אני חשבתי שזה מדבר על מריה ועל ישו ועל כל זה.
I don't know why. It's a feeling. I can't say why.
It's from the Old Testament.
Can't say why. Whoa, whew. I wonder why he can't say why. But isn't that interesting that on the back, I was going to actually say before that little moment, isn't it interesting how their approach is similar or somewhat similar to what some use sometimes when they're trying to, at least those that are trying to bring Muslims to God through their evangelism through Christ. They use a similar approach. They'll use scripture and they'll say, what does it sound like? This and this and all this, that, and the other. And they're citing Isaiah. Yeah, I think it's really cool. And it's an interesting parallel here. Let's continue.
Although I knew it was a trick.
It's not a trick. I'm telling you, it's so similar. People think that it's like a Western religion and it has nothing to do with Judaism, but this is so close to Judaism, it's crazy.
So the next one, you ready? For to us a child is born. A son is given.
And the government shall be upon his shoulder.
ויקרא שמו פלא יועץ אל גיבור.
Everlasting Father.
Prince of Peace, New Testament.
Again, I would assume that this one is from the Brit Hadasha.
New Testament, I think.
The other one. What's it called?
New Testament.
The New Testament.
אני אלך על הברית
The other one? Oy vey. Really?
החדשה.
Something about the Prince of Peace.
Right.
Like it got me right away.
No, I mean, yeah, it definitely sounds like New Testament stuff.
Excellent. Tanakh.
Really?
Yeah.
גם התנ"ך? וואו.
One more.
They will look on me whom they have pierced, and they will mourn for him. I'm going to say, as one mourns for an only son, and they will weep bitterly over him like the bitter weeping of a firstborn. I mean, I'm going to say New Testament, but
I mean, that's just a powerful line. You know, you'll hear this, and is it just me? I mean, I hear this, and I just, it's almost like I'm in Holy Week. And this is, as you know, Old Testament prophecy that just thousands of years later is so moving, so powerful.
it's probably Old Testament.
Yeah, that's right. Can I ask you, why did you think that the parts sounded like New Testament? Even though
It
they are
sounded
Old
like he
Testament?
was getting pierced to the cross or something.
And this is 700 years before Jesus is born.
Right. Who is it talking about?
Last one. For I'm not ashamed of the gospel.
Sharei koach haElohim.
To everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. I mean, I'm going to say the new again, but is it the old?
This is the New Testament.
Oh, this is the
This
new.
is the
Okay,
New
I don't think
Testament.
they were talking too much about Greeks in the Old Testament.
Brit Hadasha.
Yes.
Really?
You got it. You got it. The New Testament? Yeah. You're right. Bro, we got 4 for 4.
Girl power! Woo! Gotta say that one in there.
4 for 4. You win. You win the Brit Hadasha. You initially thought it was from the
You gotta appreciate that reaction. I like that.
Tanakh. And why?
You know, we are the chosen ones
Yes.
by God.
Yes.
And something about talking about the non-Jews
Right.
is more modern.
That's a great point. Did you know that God told Abraham that from him, from his seed, me'azera shelo, will become a great blessing to all the nations?
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is why we're here, because we want people to understand that the Tanakh gives a promise, and the New Testament fulfills that promise in Yeshua. Like Yeshua, he's the only
To all nations. To all nations. First the Jews. We'll get to that.
person that can fit the description of the Mashiach, only person. And so we're trying to teach people that, Rega, open the eyes and look for yourselves. Read some of the Tanakh, read the New Testament, you can see for yourself what it's talking about, because we feel that our life is on the line here. And so if people aren't thinking about how they can secure their future with God and their last day comes, it's scary.
Yeah, it is.
So we just want to share with people where they can find eternal salvation and forgiveness.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, so if you're interested, we have a New Testament in Hebrew we can give to you for you to read.
What do you think? Is he going to take this New Testament, or is he going to tell this Christian to bugger off? I probably already spoiled it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay,
I love to.
cool, let me get it for you. You might want to actually start in the Tanakh on the last book, Malachi, and go right into here.
All right.
And you'll see a narrative that takes you from here to there. It's very smooth. It's a smooth transition. It's wonderful. And read this, because this is for our Jewish people. If you open it up and you read the first verse, open it up. Read the first verse of the New Testament.
ספר היחסים של יהושע המשיח בן דוד בן אברהם. אברהם הוליד את יצחק, יצחק הוליד את יעקב, ויעקב הוליד את יהודה אחיו.
Okay. So does this sound like something foreign to our Jewish people?
No.
Does that sound like something zar?
Not at all.
Something foreign? Something from the Christians? It's theirs. It's not ours.
No, it sounds mine. It sounds very Jewish.
Right. And all you needed to do was look at the very first sentence to find out.
Yeah.
So look through that, and you can contact us if you want to, if you have any questions.
Amazing.
All right?
Thank you very
Juan,
much.
you were amazing.
Thank you.
I love this one. All right. Yeah. Thoughts, comments? Anybody want to come up? Amen. 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 All right. Okay, thank you, Give. Let's go back up and share these. So yeah, I mean, why isn't our circles doing more of what you just witnessed there? That's my challenge to them. Yeah, let's just move on to the next thing. I don't want to say too much about that. I say a lot. I don't want to harp too much, but it's just, I mean, we're not only fighting for our lives here, we're fighting for salvation, right? It's our own salvation, but we're also fighting the spiritual warfare for the salvation of others. And if there's people out there misleading, I mean, it's a problem, isn't it? It needs to be addressed. So, and that's my goal. My goal is to expose mass media conditioning, mass media rhetoric, mass media, and the implications of that. And that includes what we see on the internet, and that includes in our own circles. That's not my fault. I mean, if it's a problem, then maybe they should repent instead of getting mad at me for speaking the truth. I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me. If I'm wrong, correct me. So far, all I've seen is gawking, lip-tarded behaviors and Islamic behaviors. And that's it. No actual arguments. I mean, Christ puts it, again, he used a lot of parables, a lot of different ways to explain things so we can understand it. But when it comes to this, he's quite explicit. Cannot serve two masters. Let's see. I've got another one I want to share. What is it? This one. Okay. There was another video I think I X'd out of it by accident. Oh yeah. I'm going to have a hard time finding it. Maybe I'll find it before the end of the stream. My apologies. I hate when that happens. That one was a bit of it was actually Islamic propaganda. So there was like 80% BS, but 20% of exposing some of the atrocities coming from Israel. And this is coming again. In my own experiences, I worked for Israelis, and at a young age, I saw firsthand how bloodthirsty they are. Very much. I mean, my first exposure to Islamic behavior was from Israelis. It was years later when I discovered, again, maybe because Muslims are crafty, I don't know. But it was years later when I witnessed that stuff. So, this eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, and these kinds of things, they're, and just basically, I mean, what's the root of all evil, folks? I mean, forgive me, but I just got to go there. What is the root of all evil? It's not money. Again, if you say money is the root of all evil, you, like me, may be a victim of mass media conditioning. Money is not the root of all evil. Can anyone tell me what the root of all evil is? Again, I got another short on this one, or the same short, actually. It's the love of money. That's the root of all evil. Okay, so am I splitting hairs here? What's the difference between money being the root of all evil or the love of money being the root of all evil? Well, we've got an example, and it's anti-Christian ethnicity. That's the problem. Two of them, actually, and they both, just so happens, they're trying to kill each other, trying to genocide each other. It just so happens. Is that a coincidence or not? I think, again, I don't want to preach theology. I have my understanding of why, but I don't want to get into that because I'm not qualified. So, $15.69. Wow. Okay, that's in the Bible. Yeah. Let's see. So, yeah, thank you, Give. Let's watch this one. This one is a little bit of a tangent. Since I can't find the other one, my apologies. The other one was actually on topic, but it was also one that was going to get your blood boiling because he had so much propaganda. I mean, like I said, most of it's saturated with propaganda, with pro-Islamic taqiyya. So gross. You can't get any real news these days anymore. All right, let's see. Did I put this one up just in case? All right, I'm gonna play this real quick, and I might be calling it early today. I don't know. My guest hasn't showed up. I guess he won't be. Nobody seems to want to come up, and I clicked out of this other stuff. Oh, by the way, one thing, folks, like if I misspeak, and I have a bad habit of doing this, I watched part of my last live stream. One, I forgot to include things, just like I'm going to do with this live stream. But just so you'll know, I have a problem misspeaking. Like I'll have one thing in my mind and then to say the other thing instead. I know it sounds like I might be making excuses. I'm not. I literally have an issue, especially when it comes to negations. I know this sounds weird, it's a small error in itself. Just one misplacing one word, so to speak, or getting it the opposite. Right, but it's the opposite. So it literally changes everything. So if I'm saying something that sounds off to you, please feel compelled. I'm compelling you to correct me right there and then. And I mean that for the love of God. And I mean that in a nice, sincere way. For the love of God, do it. I not only welcome it, I encourage you and beg of you to correct me if I'm making mistakes. Please do that. Again, I'm not making an excuse for myself. I've got this issue. I'm not getting into it. But that's all I want to disclose about that. But yeah, if you catch me doing that, please correct it. You'll be doing us all a favor. Me too. But especially, I'm here for a reason. It's not to make money. It's to share these gifts. I don't want to get off on a little... But yeah, I've said it before. I feel like I've been given all these blessings in life, this insight, and when I tell my story, it's just so fantastic. It's even hard for me to believe it. It's so fantastic. I'm embarrassed to share because it's a bit. It sounds like I'm making it up. But yeah, so long story short, I feel like I need to share this. It's quite biblical too, right? You're given a talent, you're given 2 talents, or the case may be, to make something of it. And I don't want to be burying that, So that's why I'm here. I tried to get the PhD research going. I don't know what to make of that, but it apparently is not going to go. So, yeah, and that's why I started this YouTube thing. I was having problems for years getting that going, even though professors were wowed by my research framework. But as you can see, it's controversial, right? Especially these days. And this is one of the things that makes me anxious. I got to speak the truth. Evil's evil. I got to rebuke it. I got to expose it. We're all called to do that, regardless of who's doing it. But unfortunately, everything's being exploited these days. There's a spin being put on everything. And I fear the stuff I put out there is going to be misused. I hope that's not the case. I'm not calling for the genocide of anyone, not even for Muslims, by the way, but certainly not Jews. But at the same time, I want to end their tyranny, at least expose it. I'm not going to end it. Who am I? But at least expose it, at least give people an opportunity to guard themselves from it, to combat it, to be able to combat it, the tools to combat it. So, money. Yep, sorry, I'm a bit late with these. All right, so let me get back to this video, get back on track. And this will be the last one.
I bet you probably know what the Greek flag looks like. And okay, right. Well, I bet you probably know what the Greek flag looks like. And I also bet you know what the Israeli flag looks like. And aside from the colors, I think they'd be pretty hard to mix up. One features a cross, after all, and the other prominently features the Star of David. But never mind. That didn't stop this pro-Palestinian chucklehead from taking out her anger against Israel by vandalizing, wait for it, her local Greek taverna.
I'm about to come back and put Free Palestine too. Free Palestine, they look, what you looking at? You know damn well there's a genocide. You know there's a genocide. Now stop it. I'm taking this.
Sorry about the language, folks. I missed that part.
I'm gonna leave this one. Take this one down right here. What are they gonna do? They can't do nothing. I don't stand for it. I don't stand for it. I don't stand for this. There's genocide, and I don't stand for Zionism. I don't support it. There's a genocide. You know that, right? They're killing children. What's the purpose? Be proud of your heritage. Understand there's a genocide.
I mean, yeah. What do you say here? And I know probably in the minds of some, I come off like this person. It's unfortunate. And I'm going to say those people that put me in this category of this person are unfortunately succumbing to conditioning. And I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm just pointing out what should be the obvious. Why am I saying that? I'm talking about schema building. What's put in your head is then what you use to navigate through the world. In other words, you interpret everything according to what's already in your head, what you already know. You're building on previous knowledge, on prior knowledge, aka schema. So if they're constantly implanting the schema in your head that anybody who says anything negative, or quote unquote negative, there I go, I just did it. I used the word label negative. That's a mass media dialectics. But anyway, anyone who says anything true that's detrimental or anything about the Jews, automatically, oh, they're anti-Semite, oh, they want their genocide, oh, you're a Nazi, and all these insane things. Ironically, the same people that were vanguards of the ADL and this kind of thing, suddenly are now the Nazis. And this is something that does concern me. When I create this content, but again, I've got to expose mass media. The Jews have been behind mass media, as well as Freemasons, by the way. Again, a large part of what we just talked about, the movie that we watched, Cecil B. DeMille's, it's a hard name to say. But yeah, mother Jewish, makes them ethnically Jewish, or Hebrew, I should say. Excuse me, Hebrew. But yeah, he was also a part of a Masonic lodge in New York. So again, this is stuff you can investigate for yourself. But we also had The Birth of a Nation, what some call the first full feature, probably because it was like a 3-hour long film. But that too was produced by a Freemason and also made popular by a Freemason of the Boston Globe. Or I should say controversial, and therefore everyone went to go see it. So, yeah, Masonic roots early on in Hollywood, obviously Jewish though. Anyway, sorry.
Genocide, right? You understand, right? There's nothing against people who are Jewish, but this is not okay.
This is Greeky.
Who's this?
This is Greeky.
What? Really?
Greeky.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was Israel. My bad. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
What?
Look, it looked like Israel.
It's really not a
Okay, well, you want it back?
Oh, yeah, that'll fix it. Yeah, I mean, I agree with this guy. So yeah, that'll fix it. She can just give it back, and all's well. All's well that ends well, I guess. All right. So obviously she's a libtard. I don't want to say anything else. I don't want to speculate. Obviously, but an obvious domestic terrorist. Interesting, mass media is not labeling her as a domestic terrorist. I wonder why that is. But on a side note, folks, and forgive me now, I'm taking this off to a tangent, but I'm going to take this opportunity. And I was looking for this video, by the way. I've got this clip of a video that I did, a documentary about almost 3 years ago, of a woman that's similar to this, who's Muslim, who's running around her neighborhood during the second summer of love. They're calling it the summer of love. The BLM, the hypocritical fascist domestic terrorism. Who, you know, she went to this, I got to find it. To describe it doesn't do it any justice. But long story short, folks, yeah, this is the kind of stuff as a Greek American that I've had to endure and overcome my entire life. And there's something called displacement, and that's just across the board. This phenomena of displacement, you may have heard of it. Essentially, is just what it sounds like. People who are displaced tend to be for economic reasons, not necessarily have to be. But once you're displaced, once you leave your homeland and go to another place and live there for a period of time, you're now seen as an outsider wherever you go. And that includes if you go back to your homeland, which I had experienced. I went back to Greece as an adult, as I said, to do my studies. And yeah, I was the American in Greece. But of course, in America, what am I, folks? Am I the American in America? I'm the Greek in America. So wherever I go, I'm always going to be a foreigner, even in my homeland. And that's just how that goes, unfortunately. That's how people work. That's what it is what it is, as they say. That's one thing. It's another to deal with this kind of thing. And I've had to deal with this all my life too. I've had to deal with the fact that I'm a problem because of my white skin by black people all my life, and mostly by them. I've been doing a tally, trust me on that one. And I could tell you some stories. I'm talking about knife to my throat, guns, and I mean getting stoned. I mean not stoned as in let's grab the bubbler and get high. I'm talking about rocks, groups of blacks chasing me and throwing rocks at me like Muslims. Being threatened that I'm going to be lynched, jumped on, attacked. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So, but I've also got close to, I don't know what, but KKK members were going to take me to the barn. And they approached me like Muslims do. They approached me as my friends. I was young. These were popular guys. They were on a high school football team. And so I was like, cool. These guys want to hang out with me. Awesome. And I was a Greek thing to do as a restaurant owner. I had a pizza place. And so, my family had a pizza place. I didn't have it. Just not at that point. Anyway, yeah. And so they invited me out to a Pizza Hut. I guess it was a joke, but I was like, hey, for me, it was a treat. I didn't want my own pizza. I wanted Pizza Hut. That's the good stuff. And so, we went out there as young folks. We were drinking beer. They allowed that for whatever reason. And the mood went from, again, we were a van full of people. It was me and a van full of young guys. It was festive at first, and then, we started hanging out and talking, and all of a sudden everybody got kind of miserable. I was like, what's going on? Was I doing something wrong? Whatever. And then the day was over, and we started driving back. And everyone's all quiet and miserable. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then finally the driver goes, the leader of the pack, he goes, well, what is it going to be, guys? What are we going to do? Are we going to take Nico to the barn or what? And I was like, yeah, let's go to the barn. That sounds awesome. And they started laughing. And I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't get it. These guys were thinking to do God knows what to me. But they hanged out with me, found out I'm a cool guy. Go figure. And they mid mission, they changed their mind. And I was actually at the time upset. Like, I wanted to go to the barn. That's how naive I was. So I can't say. I can only speculate what that might have looked like. I will say this: that was pretty much, for the most part, the worst thing I've had to deal with rednecks. Maybe a little more, but not much more. So, yeah. But regardless, I was still either hate. Actually, I'll take that back. No, I was in middle school. Was quite rough. I had to fight a lot. I had to fight an entire class twice, as a matter of fact. 2 different classes. Yeah. So then there's that. But yeah, I mean, always attacked. Why am I talking about this? Well, guess who else slanders? And I mean on a worldwide, global scale. Guess who else slanders? And I mean big time. Slanders the Greeks. I'll give you a hint. The entity is commonly known as, or it starts with an H, especially in the 21st century. And I'm going to say that's probably by design, right? I mean, as something that's quoted in our circles, neither Jew nor Greek, with emphasis on Greek. Greeks were of the first Christians. I mean, Jews were the first Christians. But Greeks, 2,000 years of Christian history kind of disappear in our textbooks in the West. But quietly and very quietly have been the vanguard of Christianity, even during the Ottoman takeover. I mean, if you go visit Greece, you'll see catacombs, some still being used to this day just for the sake of tradition. It's quite moving to go into a catacomb and have a service, by the way. Anyone ever visits Greece, I highly encourage you to find one of those catacombs and those services. It's quite the experience of a lifetime. Thank you again, God. Give the gospel. But yeah, it's by design. You know, to me, it's simple. You're either with Christ or you're not. And this is not rhetoric. This is generally how I feel. I don't care what you look like or, you know, what group you belong to or any of that jazz. If you're Christian, you're cool with me. If you're anti-Christian, I'm going to do my best to respectfully correct you and let you know, encourage you to not do that. But if it continues habitually, then, you know, I'll get a lot more curt with you and give you the boot as we are commanded to do. I'll dust my feet. I'll cut off, I'll pluck out. And that's where I'm at with, with the Hollywood Jews. And it's not just Hollywood. It's the internet. It's print. It's radio. On and on. It's quite the power. Insurance, banking. Oh, Pfizer, Burla, Jewish, head of Pfizer. So it's genocidal. So I went from being a major media buff, and I mean big time media buff, to just recently had to stop lying to myself. I had to be honest, to being the person you hear now. And again, I'm not saying we should go out and start killing Jews. God forbid. But I am saying if we're going to make a difference, starting with our own lives, we need to at least be honest about that and with ourselves. Just like the story of Legion today. The story of Legion is quite powerful. We're talking about someone who was possessed with not only a demon, but many demons. People didn't know what to do with him. He was all chained up. He was so dangerous. And Jesus comes along, and immediately the demons start freaking out. Quite the opposite of the Epiphany, right? When the baby starts kicking in the womb because Mary is present. The unborn Christ is present. The opposite now. Now we've got someone who's possessed and the demons are freaking out. And so they beg Christ to put them in the swine, to have mercy, and to put them in the swine. And the swine, of course, go crazy and they run off a cliff. But what happens in between is Jesus commands them to name themselves. And hence our expression, name your demons. And that's what I'm doing here today. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what I plan on continuing to do until my last breath, whatever that looks like. Anthony Bloom, in a Q&A, he's the author of a book called Beginning to Pray. Anthony Bloom, I encourage you to, it's a short read, a powerful read. I encourage everyone to check it out. You can even find a free online PDF. It's $10. If not, it's well worth it. In this Q&A, he's talking about what his father told him when he was young. And he says, amen. He says, well, his father, he got injured as a young man, and his father wasn't concerned about his injury. His father turns around and tells him, imagine having a father like this, by the way. His father turns it around and tells him, hey, I wasn't so concerned that you got injured, or even if you had lost your life. What I'm more concerned about is whether or not you lost your integrity. Why we die. Not only how we live our lives, which is extremely important, but why we die. Not if, that's certainly not a question. Some of us are still, I got subconsciously got this thing of if we're going to die. No, we're all going to die. We're all going to expire at some point. We're all going to pass. So, the when, why obsess and dwell about the when? If you've got responsibilities in this world, okay. But I think the why is the most important. The very thing that we overlook is the why, and I think that's the most significant thing. Why we die. Not even how. Some of us, are concerned about how. I want to die a peaceful death with a smile on my face in my sleep. Okay, sure, I want that. Not even that's important. What I'm calling everyone to do is to pray unceasingly, no matter what happens, no matter what's put on us, just like Job. Keep your faith. Pray unceasingly. Keep your news at all times. I think I'm done with my presentation today. Undoubtedly, forgive me for not sharing these other things that I want to share. There's a video that I want to share that was really cool. I'm not going to be able to find that. My apologies. There was also a clip with that woman that I was talking about from this documentary, and I'm not finding it. It's an hour and a half long documentary. It's really two overlapping documentaries, so it's information overload. It's a style that I've got. I apologize for that too, but it was for the sake of time, the audience, and all that. Yeah, but I can't find it. I'm skimming through it as I speak, and I just can't find the clip. Never find something when you want to. I'll tell you what. Let me go ahead and share this link in chat, and I encourage you to skip through it. It's a woman driving through a neighborhood acting a fool, as we used to say back in the South. But the whole documentary, if you can stand all that information overload, is really good, so I've been told. So check that out if you have time. With that, I think I'm going to leave you guys be. I should be on, well, let me plug this. I should be on Lloyd DeYoung's channel on Friday. I think we said around 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. I'm not sure. He hasn't generated it yet, but I'm sure he will. So I'm looking forward to that. It's basically a reiteration Tracy.